She'd been 2 years ahead of Quinn in high school, and she'd also been a waitress at Pearl's during Quinn's last year in high school. Quinn remembered her as an unusually gloomy presence there, but something else about her gave Quinn pause. Annika was the blonde woman who'd stopped Tanner at the dedication yesterday, before he'd gotten into his car. As Annika approached her, she shifted her grocery bag in her arms and looked at the businesses across the street. For a second, Quinn wondered if she should simply let her pass, but her curiosity got the better of her. "Annika," she said. Annika turned and looked at her. "Oh, hi," she said. She looked distinctly uncomfortable, and it occurred to Quinn, too late, that Annika may have been hoping to avoid her. If it hadn't been for the fact that she'd barely known Annika back in high school, she might have been offended, but they hadn't been friends. They'd barely been acquaintances. "You're still here," Annika said now, as she juggled the grocery bag she was holding. "Yes, for a few more days," Quinn replied, sipping her coffee. Annika, she realized, must have seen her at Shell Lake yesterday. "What did you think of the dedication?" Quinn asked her now. Annika looked briefly up the street to where the little boy had stopped. "I didn't want to go at first, but now I'm glad I went," she said. A gust of wind rattled the awning above them and sent Annika's blonde hair flying. She caught it and pulled it back off her face, revealing her pale complexion and light blue eyes. "She's pretty," Quinn thought. Pretty in the way that women of Scandinavian descent, women like her stepmother, Joanna, often were. "I know what you mean about the dedication," Quinn said. "I felt the same way." A customer came out of Pearl's then, sending the little bells that hung from the door into a frenzy of jingling. "You used to waitress here," Quinn said, gesturing at the door as it swung closed. "Do you still?" "Oh, no. I work at Loon Bay Cabins now. I'm the manager," Annika said, pulling the collar of her peacoat closed. Quinn nodded, remembering that Tanner was staying at the cabins this week. That must be how he and Annika knew each other. "Do you live there too?" Quinn asked, though she had the vague impression that Annika needed to get going. Annika hesitated. "Jessie and I have one of the cabins there," she said. Quinn looked up the block at the boy. He was bouncing one of those pinky rubber balls that they still sold in the vending machine outside the hardware store. Quinn had loved these as a child, and she and her dad could rarely pass by the hardware store without Quinn wanting a quarter for one. She shuddered to think of how many near accidents she must have caused when she'd lost control of one. Jessie was bouncing his ball with great skill and total absorption, though. It made her smile. She loved the way kids that age could be so oblivious to the adult world unfolding around them. "He's cute," Quinn said, of the uncomplicated boyness of him, and of that need, she still remembered, to be in a state of unending motion. "How old is he?" she asked, watching as Jessie made a dramatic dive to catch the ball. "He's 9. He'll be 10 in August," Annika said. And then she looked down into the bag she was holding, as if she might find more information there. "He's in 4th grade, then?" Annika nodded and smiled a barely there smile. "Well, nice seeing you," she said, and she started to move away. "Wait," Quinn said. "How are the cabins at Loon Bay?" "I'm staying at the Butternut Motel," she explained. "But I'd love to move somewhere else for the next few days." "The Butternut Motel?" Annika asked, turning back to Quinn. She wrinkled her nose. "Yeah, it's pretty depressing," Quinn agreed. "What about Loon Bay?" she persisted. "Do you have any cabins available?" "We do," Annika said, pulling her hair back. "How are the rates there?" she asked. "We have a midweek rate of $79 a night now." Annika looked up the street again, trying to spot her son, who was looking in the window of the variety store. "That's good," Quinn said, of the price, especially since she didn't know if she could face another night in room 6. At Loon Bay, at least, she'd have a whole cabin, albeit a tiny one, to herself. And if she didn't feel like going out to eat, she wouldn't be limited to chicken-flavored soup from a vending machine either.